The Ella Baker Center was created to stand up for people who were left out and left behind. We started, no one would talk about the young people who were being brutalized on the corners all across this country by police. No one wanted to talk about police brutality because everyone was too worried about the war on drugs, violence, and crime. But the Ella Baker Center stepped up and stood in and called for human rights for everybody, regardless of there were young people standing on the corner, regardless if it were grandmothers. And we said that it's not okay to treat young people that way. It's not okay to treat anyone that way. The first campaign we ran was a justice for Aaron Williams. He was an unarmed African American man who was beaten, hogtied, pepper sprayed, and thrown in the back of a police van, where he died. We worked tirelessly to make sure that the San Francisco Police Department was held accountable, and ultimately got Mark Andaya, a rogue cop, fired. It was the first time that, due to the pressure of a community group, that a police officer in this country was ever let go. And that, for us, was the beginning of realizing that what we could do when we came together as a community. We believe very deeply that people have the answers and the solutions to the problems they face. They just have to be given the resources and the tools to work together to find them and to create them. At the Ella Baker Center, we believe that our public spending is completely out of whack. We spend way too much money adding damage to damage and harm to harm. And it's too few dollars investing in education and opportunities for the future, for our children, for education. And we want to reverse that trade-off. We want to move that money from harm to hope and invest in real opportunity and education and training for young people and their families and their communities. When we spend $200,000 a year in the state of California to incarcerate a child and less than 7 to educate them, we're doing it wrong. And we want to change those priorities. Our theory of change can be simply described as head, heart, and hands, that we really have to come up with these really, the smart ideas that are really heartful, that really come from our soul, and then give people the opportunity to work towards creating them. And that's what we've done for a number of years. We've had an organization that wins, whether it's stopping the expansion of draconian super jails for young people out in California, or it's pioneering the idea of a green collar jobs, or we're fighting poverty and pollution at the same time. We believe in finding smart solutions that we can win and then really engaging people in those solutions, allowing people to fight and win those solutions for themselves through people-powered action. Since the beginning, the Ella Baker Center has tried to leverage media smartly and well to really speak in shared values, to really use the media to get out our story and to tell our message. And we've continued to do that. We've also understood from the beginning that it wasn't about us, that we had to continue to grow a base of trained leaders, people from the community, people who are going to be in the community, and who could really carry this vision and create the change and be the change long after we were gone. We really worked hard to craft smart policies that really shift outcomes for people, whether it's the National Green Jobs Act, which created millions of dollars in green jobs trainings for people, that was signed into law by George W. Bush, then president, or it's the cross-cutting coalitions that we pulled together to advance deep agendas. We stopped a lock-em-up ballot measure at the ballot box in California for the first time by pulling together a coalition made up of teachers and firefighters and community advocates who began to understand that for every dollar we're spending locking up someone, we're not spending a dollar educating them. Part of the way we measure our success is the engagement of our base. Are our members stepping up and becoming leaders in their communities? Are they carrying in the mantle? Are they the ones people are looking to? Another important is increasing civic participation. Are folks of color showing up to the polls? California is one of the most diverse states in the nation, every day except on election day. We want to see more people of color showing up and voting and deciding their own futures. Another way we measure our success and the effectiveness of our work is by doing what we set out to do. When we started our campaign, we had 8 youth prisons in the state of California. Now there are 3. And we're pushing to close them all, to get them down to the wire where there's none left. Another is that we set our sights on changing the actual laws and the policies that govern what happens in our communities. And so we want to shift public policy from harming our communities to helping our communities, to create more opportunities for our folks who've been traditionally excluded from jobs to get jobs. We want to make sure that people can get an education, that people have a place to live. And we want to change the rules that govern the game that decide whether or not people have a place to live and what jobs people have access to. And lastly, we think it's deeply important to shift public opinion. And we can tell, is the public with us or not? When we finally got a news story in the state capitol about when California was going to close its youth prisons and not if, we knew that our work was being successful. A common misconception is that our campaign, Books Not Bars, takes books into prisons, or that we want to close saloons. What Books Not Bars really is about is ensuring education and not just incarceration. That we have a future for our young people and a future for our country and not just locking people up. Another myth is about juvenile justice in California. We spend about $200,000 a year to incarcerate a child and less than $7 to educate them. Many people believe that more jails and police make our community safer. It's just not true. We know that good jobs, good schools, and more opportunities for our young people bring true safety. The Ella Baker Center has connected economic and environmental justice, created opportunities for young activists, helped connect families torn apart by prison system, and so much more. In addition, we've convinced teachers that the expansion of the prison system was a direct threat to the future of education in our state, and convinced them to partner with us to stop a lock 'em up measure at the ballot box. We helped mobilize tens of thousands of people of color throughout the state to stand up for retaining jobs that prioritize the health and well-being of our planet and our workers over corporate profits and interests. And finally, Throwdown for the Town, our citywide service event, engaged over 400 community members and 23 service projects throughout the city, and now this is an annual event. Our community doesn't always believe that we have the power to change the situations in our own community. And so what the Ella Baker Center has been working to teach us is that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. Through leadership development, which is putting the future of the city in the hands of the people who live there, we give them the tools and the opportunities to work together, to strengthen those communities, to step up and lead for themselves. They get to become block captains where they get to mobilize to get other people out to vote. They get to become people who say, I'll anchor a community service day in my community. We'll clean the creek. We'll plant a community garden. I'll start a food program. You give people the opportunity to stand up and do it for themselves. Additional resources will allow us to grow in two important directions. One is high tech and the other is high touch. We can never replace that on the ground organizing, that door to door, neighbor to neighbor, community member to community member. But we also need to grow our online organizing with emerging technologies, the Facebook, the Twitter, and so on. We're in a really interesting political moment with the rise of, the 99% and people understanding that there's an opportunity to change their lives if we all work together. That's huge and creates a real opportunity. Another thing is to deepen our breadth and scope of work to reach into rural California, into rural parts of our community, where folks are also suffering and need an opportunity to strengthen their voice and to stand up and to know that they can be the solutions for their community. While the Ella Baker Center has had tremendous success in the juvenile justice system, we still in the state of California have an adult correction system that has just run amok. It's the fastest growing part of our state budget, and we think with some additional resources, we can really make a difference there. The other thing is, with increased resources, we could increase our scope of work and deepen our impact in rural communities, giving those people a true voice and an opportunity to be heard and to build and strengthen their own communities. And lastly, the ability to engage with people in their native languages. California is such a diverse state, and we have so many beautiful languages. And to be able to have a website or emails or even staff who could speak to people in their native languages. Because when you speak to someone in their native language, you speak to them in their heart, and you're able to move them and organize and work with them in such a deep and beautiful way. And we'd love to have that capacity.